What is going on, guys? We are back. Hopefully, everybody that was on the Friday stream when we had a little bit of technical difficulties is here. We're going to have some fun. Don't tell the FBI, don't tell any of the authorities, but we're going to talk best ball. The playoffs are in about, a week. We're 1 week left of the regular season. So we probably have a pretty darn good idea of, what teams we have are good, what teams we have are bad, what teams that are advancing that are, live, not alive, all the above. We're fresh off of, maybe the most exciting NFL week we've had yet this year. That was the most, I joke a lot on Twitter and wherever about kind of how the NFL product is pretty unwatchable. And I think overwhelming majority of the time it is. If we didn't have gambling, we didn't have best ball, we didn't have DFS, we didn't have season long. I don't know how much I would watch, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. But yesterday was pretty awesome. I think the games, there was a ton of really good games. Obviously, lots of scoring, which is pretty nice. And so it's got me kind of reinvigorated. The doldrums of the season kind of wear you down at times, and yesterday was exciting. I felt like. So it's got me really excited now that, we're obviously we have tonight's game, which may not be super fantasy relevant. It's unfortunate because I have a lot of bills on my teams. But I feel like I said, we pretty much know where we stand. So Friday I was planning to go through a lot of this stuff, but like I said, had a little bit of technical difficulties. And so got that all fixed up. We're going to talk through a bunch of different things. We're going to talk through I have my current advance rates across Underdog and DraftKings, which is where 99% of my volume is on those two sites. And I'll kind of talk about that, kind of lead into the discussion with what I kind of have going on. I do think I'm going to skip the couple of my teams because you guys shared a ton of teams in Discord, which is super awesome. I love looking at you guys' teams, weird as that sounds. People talk about that all the time. Like, there's nothing worse than, the guy that talks about his fantasy team like anybody else cares. I kind of feel like best ball is unique in that way because, like, the teams that you guys are sharing, like, I'm competing against those, right? It also helps me see kind of how other people are building, what teams are out there, not only that I'm competing against, but like how people are structuring teams, right? What combinations of players are there? Some of them probably look similar to mine, some of them don't. So I actually think it's a cool and helpful exercise, actually, to look through some of these teams. And, we can we're getting close, and kind of you guys are some of the best ball players out there. So we can kind of shout you guys up. So I'm just going to, after I walk through a couple of these things, I'm just going to pull up the Discord and start kind of scrolling through. There's tons of teams in there. And so thank you guys for sharing those. So hopefully you can see that. My advance rates. So I broke it down on Underdog across all the different contests. You can see how many teams I drafted and what my advance. I'll actually start at the bottom. So I'm at about 20%. I drafted 630 teams across Underdog and DraftKings. This does not count. So I did put the resurrection, the in-season drafts on Underdog on here. I did not put the teams on from DraftKings from in season, and I think I might have actually screwed up my math a little bit there on the DK 301 dogs every time. To answer this question, yeah, I didn't do that many. I don't actually know how many slow drafts I did. I didn't keep track, but it's, I don't know, 80-90% fast drafts. And so I did start drafting really, really, really early, April, May, something like that. And so, it's spread out across a lot. And if you guys remember, for sure, during the puppy 1, puppy 2 times, there were I would just be sitting here drafting all day. So there was probably like a few weeks where like the majority of this action came. Like you see, Puppy 2, what I got 79 teams in, which is hilarious because that advance rate is the worst thing I've ever seen. But like Puppy 1, I got 115 teams in. Same thing. Like those are drafted in like a very short period of time and like almost all fast drafts. So across Underdog, like I said, in Best Ball Mania, so I will give a little bit of context too. On Best Ball Mania, I basically stopped drafting. So I did almost all while making dinner, walking the dog, draft all day, every day. That is pretty much true. That is absolutely completely true, Jake. I was doing. It's so funny you say that too. I would be. You probably remember this because I probably said it on the stream or something like that. But like, we'd get to dinner time, making dinner, fire up a draft while I'm making dinner. Every time I walk the dogs every day. Take the dogs for a walk, fire up a draft. So like, those were I'm doing that every day. So I'm getting at least those in every single day. And then obviously, I work from home. So I'm able to get drafts in then. And I just enjoy drafting, and I enjoy the fast draft experience the most. So it does wear you down when you start to get towards the end. Like I maxed the DraftKings Millie, and I got about as many as I could into what they had, like a $5, a $6, $3, or whatever it was. I got about as many as I could into those. And with the DraftKings app being a little bit shitty, much shittier than Underdog user experience, it did wear me down a little bit at the end. But I really wanted to max the DK Millie, which is also partially why I didn't go back to Best Ball Mania 2. So anyway. In the BBM, like I said, I got 108 teams, and I drafted. I'm trying to think of even when my last. I wish we had this data. I'm trying to think of even when my last BBM was, because I completely stopped. I drafted so much early, and knowing basically that I was going to give up. I was going to be punting off a bunch of teams. Right? There's a couple of I luckily didn't draft a bunch of Michael Thomas, but there's Michael Thomas teams in here, right? There's Cam Akers teams in here. I actually had a good bit more Cam Akers than I expected. Trying to think of who else, right? Travis Etienne, J.K. Dobbins. I wasn't drafting much J.K. Dobbins, but those guys are all in there, right? So I was willing to sacrifice those teams to draft a ton early, right? I remember I posted on Twitter, I don't know, July, August, something like that, like one of my first BBM teams. And it had 5th round Cooper Kupp on it. I think it might have even been my first team. So Rams stack with 5th round Cooper Kupp and like 11th round Tyler Higbee. Like, not that Higbee matters, but you know what I mean? Like back then, Darrell Henderson was 11th, 12th round, right? And so once we saw, you guys lived it, saw how efficient the market got on Underdog. It's like, it's pretty insane how efficient that market got. And I felt that drafting a bunch more teams, it's not like bad, but I felt I had, I only have so many hours in the day, and the best, expected value for me was putting it into DraftKings, because I think the lobbies were really, really soft. I actually talked with friend and boss, soon to be not boss, but Cal Spears, and we were talking towards the end of draft season, and he was basically like, I don't know that we should draft DraftKings teams early, because they were the lobbies were so soft at the end. And that's how I felt too. And Underdog was the complete opposite. The softest time for Underdog was early, right? May when I started drafting. Obviously, I have less information, and I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to have players get hurt, but I also have, the chance of finding, right, Darrell Henderson, I didn't find him, but Leonard Fournette super late, right? There's tons of options. Elijah Moore went super late and he got really steamed up, blah, 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 right? You guys know all the examples. But DraftKings, it almost really didn't adjust all year. Obviously Henderson gets bumped up with the injuries. Gus Edwards got bumped up with the injuries. James Robinson got bumped up with the injuries. But the overall market was still so soft, and people were just drafting, really horrible teams, that I wanted to, again, try to keep my BBM teams, with as much upside as possible. That's what I felt. The other thing is they offered these other, right? We have Big Dog and 3 puppies puppy tournaments that I was able to still draft on underdog, but it was all kind of within a very short time period, a very contained environment. So that was basically my strategy. So we talked enough about my strategy. So you see, so BBM actually ended up being, like my current highest advance rate. I do definitely have some teams that are going to fall out of there. Hopefully they get replaced this week by a couple of teams. Like I have CMC teams, I have teams with dead quarterbacks, teams, that's just how it goes. But I think because I was able to take advantage of the early drafting and maybe it's a little bit of luck or variance, but drafting the way that I do, kind of very fragile, a lot of hero running back, not even very much zero running back, but hero running back type stuff, right? So you hit on JT and then you load up on these backup running backs, right? Henderson, Madison, Pollard. I wish it was Fournette, but Michael Carter, all these different guys, and you end up getting AJ Dillon, right? You end up just getting kind of superstar squads, and the wide receivers had not gotten bumped up quite to the point. Like I said, Cooper Kupp was like a 5th round pick, or back then. He got way steamed up, but you guys get the gist, right? So I only did 7 big dog drafts. I'm only going to advance 1. Pretty terrible, but is what it is. It is a fairly strong JT, Cooper Kupp, Debo, like Hollywood Brown, pretty decent Diggs. I think it was a 1st round Diggs. So it's a pretty decent team. I don't think it's live to win it probably, but it's a pretty good team. And then Puppy 1 was great. 23% advance rate. My goal, and we'll get down to the total, was I was hoping to get like above 20%, basically. Like a stretch goal would be 25, right? But I think I feel confident that if you can hit 20%, you're doing pretty well, right? Random misses, whatever. What is that? I'm horrible at math. Hold on. So 17%. If you can get above 20, I think that's a realistic goal, just given the variance of an NFL season. And so I feel okay about where I stand right now. I certainly made plenty of mistakes, but you can kind of see, for me on underdog, the earlier drafts were where I basically made my money, right? Puppy 1 and Best Ball Mania were the earliest tournaments, and that's where I was most successful. I think the market wasn't super efficient, and I was able to take kind of advantage of that. And then DraftKings is just, close to 20, around 20%. I think I've gained the most. I didn't update this for yesterday, so I apologize. Hopefully not too much changed. I wasn't able to with underdog, was having some data issues. I think I actually gained quite a few on DraftKings. I think I might have lost a couple on underdog. So anyway, for me, I don't know about you guys. I'm interested to hear what you guys, how your experience was. For me on underdog, by far, and the data supports it, BBM 24%. And I drafted all those I wasn't even drafting in August in the BBM. They're probably all done by July. So hitting 24% on there. And then in the Puppy 1, hitting 23%. So same thing, one of the earliest tournaments. Clearly, I sucked at adjusting to the market, right? Puppy 2, 10%. Horrible. Puppy 3, just barely above, what you would expect, and Big Dog below what you would expect. And those were the later tournaments, whereas DraftKings was fairly solid, and I drafted the whole summer. I drafted all the way up until, the last day, basically, on DraftKings. And then I do think I do want to go through the in-season contests on DraftKings, because I think those have been pretty good too. And Resurrection is so far so good, right? We'll see how that goes. But the in-season Best Ball Resurrection tournament on DraftKings, I only got 9 in, but so far so good on there. So anyway, about 20% across 630 drafts. And I feel fine about that. Certainly, I wish it went better. I don't know if any of you guys have your rates on here. I'm certainly not anywhere near the top percentile of best ball players in terms of advance rate. That's also part of my strategy. And so I think employing kind of a strategy that is probably going to hurt my advance rates a little bit and still being able to hit 20%. I think I'm fairly happy in that, despite some very big mistakes that I made. 100%. Like, I wasn't drafting Leonard Fournette. I drafted a lot of, a good clip of Trey Lance and the rookie and the young quarterbacks, and they're all massive failures. So to make a bunch of mistakes and hit to 20%, I feel pretty decent. Let's see here. I've done better on DK versus underdog, but the track, yeah, I know that. And so I hope to, we'll get in, we don't need to go into too much like the spike week plans and stuff. I've talked about it a little bit. I hope to get some much better, we're going to be working on some tools and stuff. So definitely to track your exposures, to track a little bit better performance metrics throughout the season, maybe sweat your teams a little bit better, get some in-season projections, a bunch of different stuff. I want to be able, we're going to work on building out this offseason so that next year that this experience that we're talking through right here, you won't have this feedback that I'm doing better on DraftKings, but I don't even really know, how things are going. Hopefully we can solve that problem. I'm the opposite of you, crushing puppy 2, but the early BB. And so some of this could be a little bit of variance, not on the crushing the puppy 2 thing. I think I just was probably pretty bad in puppy 2. I also based a lot of my strategy around smashing as much Darrell Henderson as I could, and kind of like I'm a lot more like anchor Henderson, anchor Swift, those kinds of teams, and I probably was a little too stubborn on that structure in that, and I don't think that has ended up being the best structure. Obviously the best structure is something with like Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, maybe Joe Mixon. I actually think Antonio Gibson as an anchor has been decent, and I think he's really kind of starting to flourish. I'm excited about Gibson. But, if you employed the same strategy as me in Puppy 2, you can see why my teams are bad. Let's see. 24 in Puppy 1. BBM 20. So you're a little bit similar. You're a little bit flatter, but you're also a little bit more similar to me in that BBM and Puppy 1 on underdog for you were a little bit higher. And then DraftKings is higher too. Don't imagine your strategies change substantially. The one thing I will say is that my strategy, like I kind of just talked about for Puppy 2, my strategy definitely changed a little bit in Puppy 2. And I think that's probably the one thing that's like killing my my advance rates the most is we saw that was the time, if you remember, Puppy 2 was like when the insane wide receiver like flippening happened on underdog. And my counter to that was more so zero RB, but I'm still like a very anchor or hero RB focused type of drafter generally. And I would push the limits of that anchor to Henderson. I really liked Henderson, Swift, those kinds of guys. I would even like anchor Javonte Williams. Some people might consider him more zero running back, but I was very fragile, leaning to early wide receivers to kind of counteract what had happened. And whereas I wasn't really like if you like a lot of my BBM teams, like I don't really have that many zero RB BBM teams, and probably not even really that many in Puppy 1. Some, but like I kind of get the label of a zero running back guy, but I really wasn't that big of a zero running back guy. And so I kind of flipped to that a lot more in Puppy 2 and Puppy 3 because of what happened in the underdog market. And I think that's okay. But I still kind of believe in my general tenets of drafting at the running back position. And I think I could have mixed it up a little bit more, and I was a little bit probably too stubborn in those. So my ownership on who are now the league winning backs is what, like, I have plenty of JT. I have plenty of Mixon. I don't have a ton of Eckler. Gibson has actually been fairly good for me in helping out a lot of teams. Like I have a lot of those guys, and I have my fair share of the other early, first round running backs who are like all awful. But I have plenty of those early running backs in like Best Ball Mania and Puppy 1, mostly as anchors, sometimes as two early running backs. Whereas like in Puppy 2, I really didn't do that. At least not very much. So that then turned into, I have more, these zero running back type guys, which in general has like kind of been okay. But, as we've seen play out, the JTs of the world are just burying you. And I don't think I actually have a lot of Cooper Kupp in Best Ball Mania 2, and a decent amount in Puppy 1. So he was just a little bit less expensive. And then, he got to be a late 3rd round pick or something like that. And I just think by the natural flow of things, I didn't get very much Cooper Kupp either. So it was like, okay, now I'm not getting JT and I'm not getting Cooper Kupp on those teams. Like that's coffins. Like it's pretty much over when you don't get those. Yeah, Puppy 2 was definitely crazy. This is really funny. I have some of my best teams. I was looking I have 630. Even when I work in fantasy sports professionally, I don't have the time or patience to go through individually all these teams. But some of my best teams are from super early, and I was like punting tight end, and so I have these loaded teams like Ram stacks with Debo, with JT, with Eckler, Mixon, whatever, and then like loaded at wide receiver. They got Debo, you got Hollywood, you got Elijah Moore, and then tight end is like Adam Troutman, Mo Alley Cox, Chris Herndon, right? I took Blake Jarwin over Dalton Schultz, which is an epic disaster. Tight end is killing me, is absolutely killing me. What do we got, Jack? DK advanced rate 166, 26%. Beautiful. Underdog 17%. So, what? You're above 20% for sure, right? Yeah, definitely above 20%. PPR ended up much better for my draft style as well as the weaker draft rooms. Same for me. That's another thing. We'll talk about it a lot in the off season. I'm definitely in that. The main leagues and stuff that I care about are PPR season long. Like some of my home leagues are actually half point PPR, but like over the course of my life, the main leagues that I've cared about, main events and stuff like that are PPR. I play almost exclusively DFS on DraftKings PPR. And it's obviously the same scoring as DraftKings. So I think my brain just naturally works more in PPR. And I have a struggle with the exact best way to apply half point PPR into these. Not that it is a massive difference, but I do just think my brain naturally works, even if I'm like subconsciously making decisions in a manner that is better for PPR. And definitely the DK draft rooms are just so much worse. My best teams are Puppy 3 in the last couple of weeks of summer on DraftKings. Yeah, those rooms, Puppy 3 is interesting. I do think Underdog got softer. Not soft, but in general, the draft rooms on Underdog in Puppy 3 compared to like Puppy 2 basically were a little bit softer. We just got a few more casuals and stuff coming in. They certainly were still not soft, but they were softer. And so that's, a little bit helpful. But then DraftKings at the end was just the softest rooms that existed. Yeah, I was on JT. It was really funny. I was on JT early, and then not that I never really like got off of JT. It's just I didn't like make him a crazy priority. Like I have more JT than like the field basically, but I'm not like crazy overexposed to JT. Obviously, wish I would have bought a little bit more. Shows the importance of structure, especially on DraftKings. You can afford to get exactly. This is it. This is the answer, right? This is everything. Like I probably take a little bit more stands than the average person, and I'm fine doing that. I'm probably open to a little more risk, and getting my money in on the spots that I think have the best payoffs. And so I'm a little bit, I open myself up to a little bit more risk, right? Trey Lance was a huge risk, especially at cost, but I was okay doing that. But then like, as long as you're structuring your teams well, you can have mistakes and still get, more teams through than expectation. So, no, I haven't. I honestly, I haven't looked much there. I'm pretty sure my drafters teams are terrible, and I didn't do very many teams. We'll talk about that too in the off season, because I don't think my drafter strategy is very good. and that format is just so unique that I think it'll be interesting to discuss. Let's see. 18%. Hold on one second. Can never do one of these without like someone showing up at my house or noises or something like that. It's unbelievable. All day long, nothing. Nothing happens. No noises. No delivery is being dropped off. And then the moment that I hop on here, something happens. It's insane. Yeah, this is another fun Herzig. I'm glad you brought this up. 300 auto drafts, right? I know. I saw your strategy. I thought it was super, super, super fascinating, and like, I think there's a bunch of variables to this that are super, super interesting. I think there's a massive advantage into doing the drafts, right? Being able to kind of like read the room, if you will, adjust in it, like being able to be a good drafter, which is like someone like Herzig is. I'm sure most of you guys are too. Like there's an advantage when you're in the draft room to like being able to read the room, right? Set up stacks, blah, blah, blah. But there's also a massive advantage to just having kind of the best rankings, setting the best, roster limits at each position, and just letting the natural like ebbs and flows of those drafts play out to where you're going to get guys that you weren't going to get before, and you're going to get them at good costs every time, right? Maybe you're not high on David Montgomery, but the teams that you get David Montgomery on, they're always like the cheapest David Montgomery teams that exist out there. So I think it's a really kind of fascinating conversation around the auto drafting thing. That is a insanely wild swing. 12% to 29%. 22 on DraftKings. See, you guys are all better than me at this. This is true. This is a good one. That's funny you say that. CD is my highest owned wide receiver across all of best ball, which is pretty crazy for a third round pick. But I was basically hammering CD on both sites. This is across both sites. I was hammering CD, he was like a late third round pick or whatever to start. He was basically my favorite wide receiver pick. And so, yeah, it's been a interesting ride with old Dallas this year. This is actually a interest. If you auto drafted and you kept Leonard Fournette, as long as you didn't have Leonard Fournette like super, super, super low, auto drafting on Underdog, especially, probably you have the most Leonard Fournette of anybody. If you just auto drafted and kept him close enough to ADP, right? You could have him lower, but he always fell past ADP because the whole world was out on him. Yeah. This was actually when I started to buy more, which this is no shade. I drafted some JT super early. So if you started early on Underdog, JT was like the 7th overall pick by ADP, super early, like back in May. And at that cost, I was like, okay, I like this guy. But this is a very steep cost. Like he has to do what we're, the breakout and take more of the role and blah, blah, blah. And then he fell because of all that Colts stuff. And that's when I was able to luckily buy back basically on some more JT. Interesting, the number of injury. This is a fascinating thing. I wish maybe I'll try to kind of go back through and like create like almost like a little timeline of all these different things and see if we can match it up to the ADP swings. But this is huge, I mean, not even just injuries, but like all these things, right? The market is so irrational. Like it's wild. It on Underdog, it becomes efficient after a while, but it's so irrational. Like the Jamar Chase thing is the one that always jumps out, right? And now he hasn't been crushing for a little while, but I think we would all agree that the dip in ADP because he couldn't catch the ball in preseason was hilarious, right? Like it's silly. And the the Wentz and Quentin Nelson thing, like, the Wentz and Quentin Nelson getting hurt obviously sucks, but the absolute worst case scenario based on the reported timelines of their injury was like they missed 1 or 2 games. And it's like, who really cares? JT can still score a touchdown, even if those guys are out. Sure, maybe it hurts him a little bit for a couple of weeks, but like the positive end of their potential timeline was they're going to be back before the season started. And that's what happened. It was just like, it happened to be news. And so people like just freak out over every little tiny bit of news. Oh God, let's not, I don't want to talk about Robbie. I don't want to talk about the Panthers. I don't want to talk about Robbie. The Panthers are one of my biggest whiffs. Good Lord. Robbie has been horrific. And that first month of Darnold, I will always remember that for the rest of my life. But holy shit, did he fall off the map. DJ Moore was awesome to start, right? CMC came out of the gates looking like same old CMC, condensed targets, late round quarterback is crushing. Felt like the Panthers were going to be a big edge. And wow, could that not be further from the truth? Good Lord. I mean, Terrace Marshall's not even active on game days anymore. These rookies are supposed to be getting better over the course of the season. Terrace Marshall's inactive for Brandon Zylstra. Like, what are we doing? And now they fire Joe Brady. Like one of the reasons why the offense had potential, this brilliant young offensive coordinator, and Matt Rule is going to try to run Chuba Hubbard 20 times for 2 yards a carry. Just an absolute disaster. Yeah, Michael Carter was a smash. Was turning out to be like one of the best picks in all of best ball. So unfortunate. Let me pull up some Discord. See what we can do here. Let me fix that. All right. Let's move a couple screens around here for me. All right. Hopefully we can see some of these teams. Got people joining the Discord. I'm going to scroll back a bunch of ways. I apologize if I did not get to your team. Thank you for sharing all of these teams. It's amazing. I mean, there's no way I'll be able to get to all of these here. Tons of awesome teams shared here. Here's 3 of my favorite teams from D. Weiss. What is your first name? I know I see you in the Discord all the time. All right. Do a little zoom in. Okay. One of your favorite teams, Herbert, Eckler, JT. That'll do it. That's strong. Got Andrews and Komet 2 live. Having 2 high-quality live tight ends is like, man, such an awesome edge. And then obviously, I mean, good Lord. Eckler, JT, Herbert's been great. Lockett might be coming back, improving a little bit here. That'd be nice. Thielen and Corey Davis. Oh man, this team got buried. This team was looking beautiful. Then you lose Thielen and Corey Davis. That one really hurts. It's so hard to make it through these freaking seasons. You get 1 week away from the playoffs and you have an awesome team, and it gets buried by 2 brutal injuries. I don't know if Thielen will be back at any time that's relevant for us, and obviously Corey Davis is done. Here's another one you got. Brady, definitely good. Man, the Fitzpatrick stuff really sucks. I think he was going to be a pretty darn good, at least like useful, right? Ooh, 0 running back. Connor, Jamal, Madison, McKissick, Gainwell. Miles Sanders got hurt again. Maybe Gainwell will be useful. Oh, AJ Brown. Brutal. But the rest of these receivers, poor Visca. This is a really good team too. This is a fun team. Mooney's looking good. All right, let's skip. Sorry, Daniel. We got 2 of your teams in. Let's look at Alex. Josh Allen. I'm interested to see the data on so like we focus so much on advance rates of individual players, right? So like we know inherently that Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor, Leonard Fournette, Debo, those are the guys that always jump out to me the most. That like those guys are going to have the highest advance rates, basically. They're the league winners. Love to joke about league winners, but those are the league winners. I want to see combinations of players that are getting through, right? Like, naturally, like JT and Eckler teams might be paired up a lot, right? Because of how their ADPs align. In turn, like Cooper Kupp's ADP aligned with those guys. And so like it turned out that like if you didn't pick at the end of the first round, you're at least the middle to where maybe you took one of the wide receivers, like you are just fucked. What are you supposed to do? Not take Christian McCaffrey? I mean, come on. Everybody's taking Christian McCaffrey. Derrick Henry. Look, Derrick Henry was going to be the league winner, and he died. So those teams died. And so you took Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, and then you went to the 2-3 turn and you took AJ Brown and DK Metcalf, and hopefully you took Justin Jefferson. He's like the only guy doing anything there. The tight ends, Waller and Kittle, were dog shit, and Waller had one good game and Kittle has had one good game. It's like it's very interesting. I honestly don't remember last year how it looked. I don't recall that it was like this, where like you basically had to pick in a certain spot of the draft, not even just like certain players, right? Which then creates this interesting combos of players dynamic. And anyway, where I was actually going with this with the Josh Allen thing is I wonder how many, like the different stacks, right? Like seeing the quarterbacks is somewhat relevant, but like how many Bills stacks are getting through, right? How many Jared Goff on here? How many Lions stacks are getting through, right? How many Bucks stacks? I imagine the Bucks ones will be very popular. How many Lamar stacks are getting through? And then like how many, right? So this team, which is fun, has Josh Allen, Cole Beasley. Yeah. So Josh Allen, Cole Beasley stack, right? How many Josh Allen teams have Cole Beasley, Manny Sanders, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, and not, and it has Singletary, which I don't know that Singletary is ever going to be useful, but if Zach Moss is at least out of the equation, maybe Singletary can give us some usable weeks. But I'm interested to see that. So this is fun. Josh Allen without Diggs. Kamara's a fascinating one. If he comes back here and can be good, we'll see what Taysom does to him. But if the offense can get a little bit better and Kamara pops back up and is a useful player, he's not going to be a high advance rate player either. So he's interesting. You have a week, maybe JT actually has a bad week once. And Kamara has a 3 touchdown game. What does that do? What does that do to the playoffs? Super strong running backs. Kamara, Gibson, Dillon, Singletary, Godwin, smash. Debo, smash. Pittman, smash. Elijah. And pretty much healthy, right? That's going to be a big thing with a lot of these teams, I imagine, right? It's just like that you guys posted here. It's like how healthy is your team? Here's a DraftKings team. Taysom, love it. I think Herzig posted. I to spur some ideas for this, I posted on Twitter. Like if there's one guy you could have on teams that are advancing to the playoffs, who would it be? And like some people reply like, "Oh, Kupp and JT." It's like, yeah, I mean, I guess I get that, but like, who's going to win you the tournament, right? Kupp and JT are not going to win you the tournament because so many. If they need to be on the winner, right? If JT and Kupp just keep smashing every single week, like everybody that advances to the final is going to have those guys. So who's going to be your difference maker, right? And I think Herzig brought up Taysom. I thought that was a fascinating one, because you want to talk about low advance. Taysom wasn't even getting picked in every draft. And then if he comes back and he's a last round quarterback that is smashing, that would be pretty darn interesting. Let's see here. JT, Pollard, Tyreek, Terry, Debo, Andrews, Swift, Lamar. Look at this. Full health, except Tariq Cohen. Full health except Tariq Cohen and like tons of, Madison, Swift, JT Pollard. That's fun. With the Ravens stack, and who's the other quarterback? Taysom. Is Taysom stacked? No, not that you need Taysom stacked. And Goff. That's a fun team. All right, what do we got here? This is really funny. He posted two teams, and they're both Jared Goff teams. That's hilarious. All the useless debates you have over the course of an offseason. I remember having far too many discussions about Jared Goff. People were trying to tell me Jared Goff was a smash late round pick. He had a good week this week. So what can you do? Josh Allen again. So Allen Diggs stack. Gotta love that. Oh, Irv's another one. That's brutal. That is brutal. Ooh, the Jets. The Jets are such an interesting one. Like they don't do anything. Zach Wilson looks pretty bad, but then he doesn't do anything against the Texans. And then this week against the Eagles, he had a good game. And obviously, Elijah had a good game. If Michael Carter comes back, it's like I don't know what to think about the Jets because I have quite a bit of Jets. Elijah, obviously, a little bit of Michael Carter, Ty Johnson, Zach Wilson, Jamison Crowder. Right, I have all those guys. But they're. How do you project them moving forward? Good luck guessing if they're ever going to have a good game. I don't know what the answer is. JT. Lots of JT on these teams. It's definitely starting to become evident just how popular JT is going to be. And when there's nobody else doing anything, particularly at running back early on. Eckler has been good, but not to JT's level, right? Mixon has been good, but not to JT's level. So those guys are good, but JT is just such a crazy advantage, man. Crazy advantage. Ooh, Kyle Pitts teams. Love me some Kyle Pitts teams. Would love it if you would catch a touchdown. That would be swell. Getting everything you wanted usage-wise out of Kyle Pitts. No touchdowns. It's painful. Diggs, Cup, Debo, Mike Williams, Elijah Moore, Ruggs. That's unfortunate. Kirk. Oh, I remember the Travis Fulgham days. What's the other stack? Oh, yeah, Zach Wilson, Elijah, Carter. Another very fun team. Very fun team. Ooh, here we go. Now we're talking. My best 0 running back team. Pollard has been so good probably fine overall, but man, for DK 0 running back teams, Pollard has just been so good because he's just putting up enough points, even in weeks that he doesn't score, he catches a few balls or whatever to limp you by. He's just been awesome. And if they ever stop using Zeke, man, Pollard could really smash. Got the nice Cowboys, Cardinals championship game stack. AJ Dillon, Diggs, Nuke being back, getting a Kyler Hopkins team through is pretty interesting. Hopkins is obviously not going to pay off his price tag, but if you get through and you can catch a couple touchdowns in the playoffs, if somebody can push Arizona. Hawk, Cup, good Lord. Okay, hold on. Diggs, Hopkins, CD, Cup. Then you took Kyler, Hawkinson, Debo. Good Lord. James White. Man, if this team had James White, look out. This team is already loaded. But man, getting through there with Fields and Kyler. I don't know if their injured games matched up at all. That team is loaded. And what I really like about, I'm happy that some people posted 0 RB teams, not because I prefer 0 RB or anything like that, but I think it's an interesting idea about 0 running back in the playoff weeks. Because again, I don't know that JT might be too big to fail, too good to fail, but like, how can you beat when JT is on every team? This is an exaggeration for effect, but if JT is on every, you make it to the second round of the playoffs, 18 teams, right? And JT's on 16 of them or whatever. Again, exaggeration for effect. I don't know what the number will be. But if JT's on like all of those, how do you beat? What's the best way to beat them? It's probably not with another running back. Like Joe Mixon versus JT is not even a coin flip, right? JT is an 80-20 favorite. And so you really just hope you would just be like praying for variance at that point. But if you can just be that much better, right? So you have Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson or something like that compared to those guys. And then you have Pollard, Madison, Dillon, those guys. I think it's an interesting thing to think about. We talked about on Friday, like, uniqueness or whatever. And I think thinking through uniqueness as it pertains to structure is maybe a better and more interesting exercise than like, should I reach, around on this guy? I don't think that's all that helpful, but I think that's like a perk of 0 running back. Like we did a stream on the Underdog channel. I think it was one that myself and Ryan Hodge did with Josh and Hayden, and they pulled up, like, at that time, I think it was through 8 weeks or whatever, the advance rates of teams and like the structures of advance rates. So they called 0 running back not taking a running back in the first 6 rounds, which I think is a totally fair definition. And the quantity of those teams, so that the quantity of teams that went running back, or like running back, or even anchor running back was like 95%. And so again, I'm pulling numbers out of my ass, but like 5% of the teams were 0 running back, like that were drafted in total. And so then you think about, okay, so no one is doing this strategy. I'm not even talking about whether it's a good strategy or not, but no one is doing this, and it at least has paths to upside, right? We're seeing people post 0 running back teams here that are just monster squads. And so you get through and everybody else has JT and Eckler and Mixon. How do you beat them? Well, you probably beat them by getting lucky with Madison, Pollard, AJ Dillon, and then Devontae, Tyreek, Kelsey, whatever. Those teams, you would rather have JT right now, but like, who's to say that Travis Kelsey can't catch 2 touchdowns in the playoffs, or Stephon Diggs or Devontae Adams, right? Of course they can. And if you can just match JT, you just get a 17-point JT game instead of a 30-point JT game, and you're run, and maybe Madison smashes and Dillon smashes, like, that's how you can win. And that's your uniqueness, right? Did I pull this one up? No, I didn't pull this one up. A. Casper, the old Lamar, man, Baker. How bad has Baker been? So freaking bad. Goodness. Oh man, this is a fun team. Lamar, obviously JT. I like the anchor. Got anchor JT, 8th round Damian Harris. Damian Harris is looking like a strong, particularly on underdog pick, right? He's probably not going to, put up 30-point games, but if you have JT and then Damian Harris can get you there with your second running back spot. Obviously, this team also has Madison to get you there if Dalvin is indeed out. Man, if we could get Calvin Ridley back, I have a few teams that it would be really cool if Calvin Ridley would come back. Hope he's okay, obviously, but Julio looks like he just got not designated to return, but he's not coming back right now, but sometime in the next few weeks. That would be interesting. Pittman, Gallup, Hollywood, Tony. If Tony can get back, he's an interesting last round difference maker too in these playoffs. We've seen the upside. Kenny Golladay certainly can't stay healthy. Gesicki has been an awesome tight end pick, and one that I was not super, super heavy on. Let me do a couple more of these, and then I'll hit some of these comments. I'm going to skip Hacker. I'm going to skip the Resurrection team. Oh, here's a 0 RB underdog team. Connor. Yeah, what a smash Connor is, right? Obviously, good players fit all structures, but James Conner on 0 running back teams is just like monster, absolute monster. Because even when Edmonds was out there, he was scoring a touchdown every week. And then, he's an RB1 without Conner, right? Without Edmonds. He's just a smash. Then you get the Allen Diggs, you get CD, you get Cup. Unfortunately, Kenyon Drake just went down, and you lost James White. So it's a little unfortunate, but hopefully maybe Chuba can do some stuff here without CMC. Kittle, nice, getting through a Kittle 0 running back team with Waddle on there, Mike Williams, Cup, Diggs. That's fun. That'll be a fun one to kind of sweat. Let's see. Pretty unique. 3-3-11-3. Oh, baby. I love the super unique structures. All right. Lawrence, I'm going to find the other. Lawrence, Lance, God damn it. 49ers, freaking Shanahan. What a mess. Lawrence, Lance, what did I say? Carr, okay. Gibson. The 3 running backs are Gibson. Oh, lost Miles Sanders. That hurts. Excuse me. Miles and who's the other running back? What did I miss? Oh, Eckler. So you got Gibson, Eckler. We'll see I don't know how bad Miles is hurt, but Jefferson, Cup, Hunter Henry has been a smash, Debo, Waddle, Mike Williams. Fun. That's fun. Love the 3-3-11-3. That's sweet. Best ball mania. Saquon. That's a couple people mentioned Saquon being an interesting, guy that you can sneak through. I agree. I like to think he's still Saquon Barkley and anything can happen. He can have some spikes, but man, the Giants have been really brutal. But Herbert, Brady, obviously Darnold's out. Brady, Gronk, Godwin, Evans. Oh man, super stacking. This is fun. Super stacking the Bucks, which is clearly working. And Gronk is a smash. If you were able to, obviously Gronk was out for so long, it's difficult to advance those Gronk teams. But man, if you were able to get by and advance Gronk teams, I think he's a pretty big edge. Another guy I don't have a lot of. RIP. But Bucks stacks are nice. Chargers stacks obviously are nice. Like even Jalen Guyton caught a bomb touchdown this week. I don't think this team needed it with Godwin, Mike Williams, Evans, but you drafted this team with me. Let's see. Alex says, I drafted this team to be really tight if you can hang on or not. Is this my team? Yeah, this is my team. Be tight if I can hang on. Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence. So if this was posted before this week, that didn't go very well. Obviously, Rodgers on bye and Trevor Lawrence. What did he? How many fantasy points do you have? 5, 4? I don't even know if he had that many. Obviously, didn't have Dalvin. This team is holy cow. Lost Dalvin. Rodgers on bye. Obviously, Darrington out. Justin Jackson's useless. Gio's useless. Devontae was out. Pitts sucks. But Cup, Debo, Chark hurt. This team's terrible. Thank you for tilting me. What is this? Brady, Dalvin, Harris, Sterling Shepard, Cup, Metcalf, Rondale. This is hard. I'm sorry. This is no shade. It's hard to view. Maybe it's just my eyes. Oh, here we go. Uniqueness, baby. Taking Eckler at 3. CEH is another interesting one. Been horrible. Obviously been horrible, but has potential. in the playoffs now that he's there and playing a fairly significant role. No, I'm not. He's not going to match those elite backs, but he's playing running back for the Chiefs. You can stumble into big games just like Darrell Williams has. Let's see here. CeeDee, Debo, Corey Davis, Kenny Galladay, Mike Williams, Elijah, Cole Beasley, on Tate, Dust. But Gesicki, very nice. All right, let's see. A-Rob, A-Rob, advancing an A-Rob team, that would be crazy. JT, Swift, Hunt, nice. Singletary, nice. Basically Burrow at quarterback. Oh, Dawson Knox, love it. Yeah, these teams. This doesn't make me feel very hopeful. You guys have a lot of good teams. Kamara, Gibson team, and DK Metcalf. Well, when you have Brady, Wentz has been pretty good, relatively speaking. Brady, Gronk, Godwin. Oh, lost Thielen. Man, that sucks. And obviously lost AB. This team was, baby. Kamara, Gibson, Connor with a Brady stack and Metcalf and Thielen. It's certainly not dead, but man, that sucks to lose Thielen on that team. Not my best, but my favorite. Okay, I gotta wrap up here in a second with the teams. We can do some more later in the week or something. Another Brady, Evans, Godwin, Gronk. Gronk clearly fell very far in this one. CPAT. Oh my, who is this? El Chupacabra, Brady, Evans, Godwin, Gronk, Eckler, JT. Oh, and AB, which sucks. Odell, now looks nice. Jacoby, fine. Elijah, smash. MVS, we know he has upside. DPJ has upside. And you got CPAT. Ooh. Wow. Would you like to sell any equity in that lineup? DM me. Good Lord. Good Lord. Okay. Seriously. Some of these teams are loaded. That team, Bucks stack with the two best running backs at CPAT, Gronk. Whew. That's crazy. All right, let's hit a couple questions before we wrap up. Hit a couple questions before we back up, or before we pack up here. Yeah. What can you do? Injuries, you know what I mean? It's hard to say. It's hard to say what Irv and Logan would have done. That's just how it goes. You're telling me. I thought Lawrence was a really good pick. I mean, it's one thing to be bad, right? It happens. Zach Wilson, rookies being bad, Zach Wilson being bad, it's whatever. It's another, like Zach Wilson scored 20-something fantasy points yesterday. You can be bad and still at least limp you by, right? That's the frustrating part. Is it's one thing to be bad and score 14 or 15 fantasy points every week. That sucks. But your team can probably still, if you hit everything else, who gives a shit? If you get 15 points a week at quarterback, but you got Cooper Kupp and JT and Debo, you're fine. It doesn't matter. But Trevor Lawrence can't even score 10. He can't even, they're not even throwing touchdowns. You got buried by a quarterback. It's crazy. It doesn't happen. That was the takeaway that I had too. It's because he was a 2-3 turn guy, right? He was all year 2-3 turn, and so no one that has JT Eckler has Justin Jefferson. So if you get Justin Jefferson, what wide receiver is better than Justin Jefferson besides Cooper Kupp? Devontae maybe, and Tyreek is obviously up there. Diggs, but he's right there with everybody, especially now Thielen's hurt. He's an absolute smash, but he's not going to have a high advance rate because just of the nuance of ADP. So as we've done this exercise now, I almost feel like my answer has changed to my question I posted earlier about like who would be the guy you would want. I kind of feel like Justin Jefferson would be the guy because it's like it's going to lead me to some sort of different structure. Maybe I have Kamara on that team, right? People drafted Dalvin. Like maybe Dalvin gets back, and you I didn't like to take Dalvin and Justin Jefferson, but maybe you took Dalvin and Justin Jefferson, and maybe you took Kittle. So you have this like nobody's advancing Dalvin Kittle teams. You know, so you have Dalvin, Justin Jefferson, Kittle, you know, or maybe you took CD or something like that. Like that's fascinating to get through. Super fascinating. No, I don't know, but it was, I think one of the underdog guys posted it early, like in the season, like week 3 or something like that. It's like, it's really low. Yeah. 5% or less. Really low. So I'm not super worried. Obviously, those teams are probably doing well, but I'm not super worried about him. Obviously, I didn't draft him, but let's see. Yeah. Ain't that the truth? These are the ones that tilt me the most because I have some of this too. I posted in Discord earlier today. I had a team that was up by like 1 million. I was winning. I was up a couple of weeks ago, like 100 points in first, up by 100. And my quarterbacks are Darnold and Lance. So I haven't gotten fantasy points for my quarterback in weeks. And I had CMC, who obviously missed time. So I had a CMC team that has Lance, like just like please God, let Trey Lance get in there or let Darnold get back. Then it's not even going to advance. It's on DraftKings. It's not even going to advance now. See, it's like very similar to this. It's still in first, I think, right now, but like the lead is gone, and I like it has CMC, DeAndre Swift, Darren Waller. Like I mentioned, going to get 0 points at quarterback. Multiple other Debo. It has Cup. It has like all these smash guys that have been going nuts and making this team really good all year, and now it's not even going to advance. Yeah, they're all horrible. What a disaster. I think Trey Lance has more usable weeks than Lawrence. He played 2 games, played 1.5 games. All right, that looks like about a good place to leave off. That was a lot of fun. Thank you guys. I'm going to try to, we're just going to like continue doing these. We're back in the stream. I'm excited to be back. Thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for posting all of those teams. Basically now moving forward, like even like through the off season, we're going to be back on a regular schedule. I'm going to get a schedule up. So we will be back pretty much consistently multiple times a week here moving forward through the playoffs into the offseason. We'll be starting drafting super early. So we are back, and I promise we'll get to more of these teams for sure over the next couple of weeks as we get into the playoffs. Then we'll start sweating the playoffs together, right? It'll be a lot of fun. We'll go through all our teams that are advancing, all our teams that got knocked out, whatever, and all that good stuff. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm not decided yet. Anyway, one of the next couple of days, we are going to start doing playoff drafts as well. We're going to start diving into playoff draft streams here this week. So I will see you guys in the next couple of days with one of those. We'll be back again later in this week for some more playoff talk. Definitely next week, all that good stuff. Catch you guys in the Discord. Catch you guys in a couple of days. Thanks for joining. But for now, I'm out of here. See ya.